Hello everybody, welcome to today's battle report. I hope you're all keeping well. This was the final preparation game for the tournament we have here in Suzhou, which is taking place next week. 5 games over 2 days, that'll be pretty exhausting. So anyway, yeah, final preparation game was against Silas's Dwarven Holds army. These two lists are both in the tournament that we have next week. Let's just talk you through the lists and the terrain. Start with the terrain, that's easier. Water feature, wall, hill, ruins, forest, forest. Right, onto the lists then. So we've got a unit of dwarf warriors, I think they're called, clansmen, maybe something like that. Marksman here, great big unit of Deep Watch here with a runic smith, a thane, and a king on a war throne. Unit of greybeards here, cannon, catapult, engineer. That's Silas's list. On my side, we've got Stygiosaur, 3 veterans on raptors, unit of caimans, small block of skinks, big block of skinks with a caiman, 2 small blocks of skinks, skink captain on a Taurosaur, BSB, and another unit of caimans. That is, you can see there the deployment. We've got the standard 12-inch from the board edge deployment. Secondary objective is to get scoring units into your opponent's deployment zone. There were no vanguards, so we're going to go straight into turn 1. Silas managed to get his whole army down before I could start deploying, and so he's going to get the first turn. Let's get on with it. Okay, so this is the photo from the end of Silas's turn 1. I know what you're thinking. It looks the same. It's not the same. Okay, I'm lying. It is the same. The only thing that happened in Silas's turn 1 was that he got 3 wounds on my Taurosaur between his 2 cannons. And he misfired with his catapult and took a wound. To be honest, it wasn't worth taking a photo of. So, yeah, it is the same. So there you go. That's the end of Silas's turn 1. Let's get on to my turn 1. Okay, so this is the end of my movement phase, and, well, it's the typical dwarf hide in a corner castle setup here, so you can see how that's affected what's going on the board. We're all just sort of converging on that back right corner. No charges in turn 1, no vanguards, so, no units close enough, so that was never going to happen. It's just a matter of rushing forwards as fast as we can to try and get into combat with things before they die. So what have we done here? Well, this is a nice 11-inch charge on the greybeard, so I'd expect my caimans and my Taurosaur to be able to make it, but the greybeard's not. I've got my conga line of skinks here, so what I'm thinking is Silas can charge these skinks, and then he can overrun into the second line of skinks, and then I could countercharge him with the Taurosaur, caimans, and caimans, of course, I'd just charge these skinks out of the way first. Other than that, just kind of moving forwards, really. This should, the veteran should be able to charge later on. Stygiosaurs are in range for a swarm of insects on the war machine, so yeah, it's just about closing him down, really. So yeah, that's it. That's the end of my movement turn 1. Okay, so end of my turn 1 then. Managed to get 3 wounds on this cannon here from Swarm of Insects, which is great news because it's also at -1 ballistic skill, so I'm hoping that might keep my Taurosaur in the game a little longer. 4 wounds on the greybeards here from some poison javelins and the giant blowpipes from the Taurosaur. And 1 wound on the marksman from some skink shooting here. That's the extent of my turn 1. Let's get on to Silas's turn 2. Okay, so this is Silas's movement turn 2, and you can see he's made 1 move, which is to charge this horde of Deep Watch full of characters into this unit of skinks. I think he was trying to get me to flee so that he'd be able to make a wheel to charge the Taurosaur, but I wasn't going to have any of that because I want him to charge in here and then overrun into this unit here. So yeah, that's the one move. The other thing that you can't see on the board is that there was a unit of ambushing miners. Sorry, I forgot to mention that at the start. They've come on and they're hiding out in the back left corner, scoring unit, so he's just trying to get some secondary objective points with those. So just keep that at the back of your mind. Right, that's the end of Silas's movement turn 2. Okay, so end of Silas's turn 2 here then. And, well, anyone that's played against Dwarves knows how it goes against Dwarves. Early on in the game, they're always going to do well. And as you close in, things will start to shift in your favour. So you can see the cannons between them have finished off my BSB Tarasaur. That's a big hit. That's 660 points and 200 for the BSB. So that was, I suppose, inevitable with 2 cannons and a catapult on the board. What else have we got here? Let's just have a look at my notes. We've got +3 initiative on the Deep Watch. Don't really care about that. And a wound on the Caimans from a partial hit with the catapult. The marksman failed to cause a single wound against the skinks, which was quite hilarious. That is it, folks, for the end of my turn 2. What am I talking about, my turn 2? Sorry about that, folks. End of Silas's turn 2. So this is my movement turn 2. And you can see that I've got 2 charges off. I've got the Caimans into the unit of Greybeards here, and I've got the 3 veterans into the marksman here. I've brought across one of the Stygiosaurs. We're about 11 inches from this Caiman here. We've got the veterans there. I want to try and cause quite a bit of damage to these units. I've got to finish these off quickly. So we're going to do a predatory roar here, and then they'll both benefit from that with their Born Predator rule. Other than that, the skinks that were here have done a kind of wheeling march. I had to use the full 12 inches to make that. But what that's going to mean is that Silas can't pivot when he wins combat here because he'd be bumping into this unit, so he would have to reform. And with the post-combat reform rule, if you do a post-combat reform, you can't actually charge in the subsequent turn, so that would protect the flank of my Caimans here. So that's why they're there like that. Other than that, we've got the Caimans kind of closing in around the back here, heading really towards the secondary objective, just angling them in such a way that if Silas does decide to kind of head back this way, then what I'm looking for is kind of a double flank charge from the Caimans later on, supported by the Stygiosaurs and the veterans possibly. So I'm just kind of keeping them nearby. I've reformed this unit here. Don't know why I reformed it in the forest. Don't know what I was thinking there. That was very silly. Anyway, they're just there in case this unit decides to come this way, and if it does, that's absolutely fine. So that was the end of my movement 2. Okay, so end of my turn 2 here then, and you can see that the Caimans have done quite a bit of damage to the Greybeards, but the Greybeards, with their great weapons, did a similar amount of damage back. I actually won combat by 1 point, which was the charge, but the Dwarves held, so they've done quite well for themselves, really. Over here, the veterans have given the marksmen a good sound thrashing, as you would expect, but not enough to get rid of the steadfast, as you would expect. So we're going to go another round there, but that's fine because there's a possibility that it should only take the 1 turn, so that's fine. The Dwarves here have smashed through the skinks and have elected to overrun in my turn. So they are not really in a position, because of the distance they've gone, they're not really in a position to kind of charge in the subsequent turn. So they're going to have to do a bit of manoeuvring later on. So I'm kind of fairly happy with that. Let me just check my notes here. Did anything else happen? No, that's it. Other than to say, I got no wounds from the swarm of insects on the cannon. Boo-hoo. Right, that's the end of my turn 2. On to Silas's turn 3. Okay, so it looks like we've forgotten to take the photo of Silas's movement turn 3, but to be fair, not a lot happened in it. The dwarves here reformed to face these skinks, and that was about your lot, really. So in the magic phase, he got -1 to wound on the skinks. That's hardly terrifying. And +3 initiative on the Deep Watchers, though they need that to beat a unit of skinks. I did manage to dispel hard target and distracting just because I wanted to use my dice. I didn't really care which spell I dispelled because they're going to die anyway. Elsewhere in Silas's turn, he got 3 wounds on the Stygiosaur between the 2 cannons. The Greybeards and the Caimans drew in combat. They both did quite badly, only scoring 3 wounds. The Veterans gave the Marksman a good spanking. The Marksman ran 5 inches, and I thought, yeah, going to absolutely nail this with my Swift Striding Pursuit. Total of 4. So, yeah, that was a bit disappointing. So that's where we are. That's the end of Silas's turn 3. Okay, so my turn 3 then. Disappointingly, I was trying to get my Stygiosaur here into the flank of these Greybeards because I thought the Caimans would probably beat them, but may die in the process, and this is a scoring unit, so I was trying to get my Stygiosaur in the flank here and go in with the breath weapon. Anyway, he failed his charge, so that was disappointing. Didn't take any damage from dangerous terrain, though, so that was something. The Caimans here, and the Stygiosaur here both charged at the clansmen that were up here who fled off the board, and I've got nowhere to redirect into, so they just both failed to charge. The Veterans, this one actually charged out at the remaining marksmen who fled off the board. Fled off the board, I think. Something like that. And these 2 Veterans then broke away and moved to within an inch of the cannon and the engineer respectively for later on. These skinks have headed up towards the forest, just trying to get into the deployment zone here. These skinks, I managed to find that from here to here was just about 12 inches, and using the 45-degree angle rule, I've just about managed to put this unit into a position where it can't be charged, so that was quite handy. So yeah, that's the end of my movement turn 3. Okay, so end of my turn 3 here then. I'd managed to get Awaken the Beast off on the Caimans during my magic phase. And as a result of that, the Caimans managed to finish off the Greybeards because they were toughness 5. And one of the Caimans survived with his full wounds complement. In pursuing the Greybeards, he actually went a full 12 inches. What a hero. And so he caught the Greybeards and overran into the cannon. So he's an absolute superstar. I think that's about it, actually. There wasn't a lot else going on in the phase. Do just keep in mind, though, everybody, you've still got those miners hanging about in the back left corner, so just remember that, because there is a scoring unit in my deployment zone. Right, that's the end of my turn 3. Okay, so Silas's movement 3 here then, not a huge amount happening. Basically, the king left the Deep Watch unit. I'm not really sure of the wisdom of this, if I'm totally honest. But anyway, he left the Deep Watch unit and the Deep Watch unit reformed. And that was it for Silas's movement turn 4. Movement turn 4. Okay, so end of Silas's turn 4 here then. Silas has got a bunch of bound spells from his Runic Master, or whatever he's called, on the Deep Watch here, which I can't even be bothered to report because they don't matter. Biggest events of this turn with the death of the Stygiosaur to this cannon here that's not in combat. And what else happened? Oh, yeah, bunch of skinks died in this unit here from this catapult here. But they're cold-blooded leadership 7, so they passed their panic test, so that was good. Up here, the Cayman won this combat, causing 2 wounds on the cannon, but the cannon held. So that is the end of Silas's turn 4. Okay, so my movement turn 4 here then. I've got a veteran charged into this cannon here. I've got a veteran charged into this engineer here. And we've still got this Cayman in combat with this cannon here. Skinks have gone into the deployment zone here. Caimans have also headed into the deployment zone. Keep in mind, these guys haven't actually been in a fight the whole game. They're just kind of lumbering around, looking pretty, really. And the Stygiosaur has come here, single model, so he can turn around at will. So turn him around just on the off chance that I might do a bit of damage with the swarm of insects on the king, who's now vulnerable by himself. So that's the end of my movement turn 4. Okay, so this is the photograph from the end of my turn 4. Silas quite rightly dispelled a swarm of insects on the king, and the veteran smashed through one cannon, the Cayman smashed through the other cannon, and the veteran in the middle, this is all up in this corner of course, the veteran in the middle smashed through the engineer and overran into the catapult. So yeah, lots of dead war machines, that's good. Don't like those, they deserve to die. So that is the end of my turn 4. Okay, Silas's movement turn 5. The king has charged into this unit here. Seems to be going solo, really. So yeah, that's it. That is Silas's movement turn 5. And at the end of turn 5, you can see the king has killed a bunch of skinks. I'm steadfast because I've got 1 rank and Silas has none. So I've passed my leadership test. Quite happy that the king's actually come into combat here because combat was inevitable. I'm glad he's come in by himself because it means the Cayman can hit him a bit before all the skinks die. So that's that. The veteran up here in the corner, of course, finished off the cannon. And that's the end of Silas's turn 5. Okay, so changing angle for my photograph angle, that is, in my turn 5, because the only thing I can actually do now is get swarm of insects off on these miners and see if I can panic them off the board by some kind of mathematical freak of nature. These units can't really do anything. I've got my 3 scoring units in the deployment zone here with the Caymans, the Skinks and the Caymans. So the only movement I've actually made is to get the Stygiosaur over here into long range for swarm of insects. So that is my movement turn 5. And a photograph here from the end of my turn 5. Managed to do 1 wound on the miners. That ain't going to panic anybody. So they're kind of still hanging around in that back corner. And you can see that the king has killed all the skinks. The Cayman did another wound on him, so actually took him down to 4. Not bad for the Cayman. But the Cayman lost combat by 6, couldn't hold, and ran off the board. The king chased him but didn't catch him, but he doesn't care because he's off the board. And we didn't do a turn 6 because there's no way Silas can close the gap. I don't want to engage that big scary unit of Deep Watch. So that was it. We called the game there. Took us about 2 hours and 50 minutes, so that's a pretty good pace. Pretty good pace of game, really. So, as the game ended, Silas had done 2,285 points of damage to me. I had done, I think, 2,100 and something. So that was a 10-10 draw. But I've got the 3 scoring units in Silas's deployment zone. He has 2 in mine. So I pick up the secondary objectives. So the game ended 13-7. I like this list that Silas has got. That Deep Watch unit is scary as, if I'm absolutely honest. The miners coming in is always going to be good for the secondary objectives. It makes a nice castle in the corner. You can't really do anything about the cannons. You just have to kind of close them down as fast as you can and wade through whatever's there. I think there's a critical weakness in this, which is that you can just feed chaff to that Deep Watch unit. It's so big. Silas has the view, I don't say that he's wrong, but he has the view that it influences the opponent's movement phase, and so although the Deep Watch doesn't score its own points back, it makes up for it elsewhere. I kind of see the logic in that, but at the same time, it wasn't that influential. It just caused me to throw skinks at it, which I'm perfectly happy to do because that's kind of what they're there for. But it is a scary unit. I think even if I'd have got my Tarasaur and both Caymans in with the Predatory Roar, which is what I was going for, I'm not sure that I would have won. Anyway, perfectly happy with the result. 13-7 against this army is a good result. It's hard to take points from. You've got to, if you're going to leave that Deep Watch King Thane unit alone, you've got to really take out pretty much everything else. And I'm fairly happy that I did that, bar the miners. I suppose reflecting back, I could have left a Stygiosaur because they're movement 7 swift striding single model. I could have left a Stygiosaur near the back and chased down the miners. If I'd have thought about it, probably should have done that really. But still, 13-7's 13-7, so take the win and move on. Right, that's it everybody for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Tournament next week, really looking forward to that. 5 games over 2 days, loads of battle reports there. My brain will be boggled by game 3 on the first day, I'm sure, so you may want to skip that one because it's probably going to be riddled with errors. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. Right, everybody, got to go. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.